Hi guys, welcome to my video. I hope that you will find it helpful. If that is the case, then please subscribe and like so that we can keep this resource for free. Thank you. We're going to have a look at the bank reconciliation question as it appears in the old assignment 3 question 4. And that's, of course, I've done that in Word. And then I have taken that information, I've put it into Excel just because it is easier to do it into Excel. So quickly, let me just share my content again. So here we see that it says this is the bank reconciliation. The following information was taken from the books of Ntuli Bookstore for August and September 2020. And here, this is the way it starts. So they start by giving you the bank reconciliation of the previous month. And then it says we start with a balance as per the bank statement. It's unfavorable, therefore it's in brackets. And then all the checks that are outstanding are also unfavorable. But then here you will see there's an outstanding deposit. And this is actually a mistake in the question. This cannot be in brackets. It is not negative. That outstanding deposit will actually increase the amount on our bank account and not decrease it. So just take the brackets away there, and I've done that. And then if we add it up, we get to that amount of 102,769.69, or rather minus 102,769.69. So that is the previous month's bank recon statement. Then they give us a number of check counterfoils. I know we don't use checks anymore really, but for the purposes of the exercise we use. So those are the check counterfoils that we have kept, that we have issued during the month. We wrote out these checks during the month. And then also there were some payments made to us, and we gave people deposit slips for that. And we have to make sure that we put that down and see which of these is accounted for in the bank statement. And if there's not, we will deal with them. I'm going to show you how to do that now. And then, of course, we get the bank statement. So this is the bank statement. And just remember, this is not your bank account. This is the statement from the bank. So in this case, whenever there is an amount that leaves your account, it is debited. And if an amount enters your account, it is credited, even though in the books of the company, when you get money, and bank being an asset account, it will be debited, and if you pay money, it will be credited. Just remember that on the bank statement, it's the other way around, because the bank statement, it's not yours, it's the bank's to you. Okay, so we get the bank statement, and then we get some additional information. Now I'm going to have a look at that in more detail. So let's have a look at the information that was given. So what I've done here is I, in Excel, gave you the bank recon just as we found it there in the Word document, the check counterfoils exactly as we find it, and the deposit slips exactly as they are in the Word document. And on this side, we have the bank statement for the current month. And the only thing that I didn't say that the account was in debit all the time. I just said we are in overdraft, and we started the month in overdraft. And so really, therefore, we start with that negative balance there. Okay. So what is the first thing we do when we are doing a bank reconciliation statement? Well, we first look at the other info that was given, and then we compare it with a bank statement, and then we cancel it if we find the same information in the bank statement and there is no difference. If you find information in the bank statement that was also in the other information given, but it is not exactly the same, then you park it. You cannot go and delete it immediately. So first thing we have a look at is we say the balance as per the bank statement on our previous recon was 89,541.20, negative, of course, and here we see it. Yes, the two amounts are the same. So we can say that balance is the first thing we can cancel. Then we go here and we see here is an outstanding check number 811 for the amount of 5879.33. Look at the bank statement, we find it, we can cancel it. There is an outstanding deposit here, and for the amount of 3429.61, and we see that the deposit is there, so we can go and we can cancel that as well. Now, please notice that if I go through this entire bank statement, I will not find these two checks that has been cashed. Okay, they do, and therefore we just keep them. We do nothing else with them. Okay, so that was as far as the previous month bank recon statement is concerned. Now we can go and look for the checks that was issued in this month. And what I did here is every time a check was issued and it was cashed into our bank account and the amounts were exactly the same, I just deleted it by striking through it on both the counterfoil document as well as the bank statement. So here you will see that there was the 721276 on the second, and there it was. There is a check there for 2704, and there it is. Okay, then we get one here. This, and you see I didn't cancel it. It is check 814. And when we look at our check counterfoil, we see that we issued that check for 300 Rand and 53 cents, but on the bank statement it shows 200. Okay, so it is something that we still need to deal with. Okay, all the other checks up to check 820 were paid into our bank account, and that money left our bank account, so that's not a problem. When we get to these two checks on the 28th and the 30th, I mean, if we make out a check to somebody on the 20th or the 30th, it's very unlikely that they are going to run to the bank and deposit those checks immediately, and it will still reflect on our bank statement of that month. And so those will not reflect. It's just a timing difference, and we will therefore put these on the next month bank recon statement. Don't worry about it too much. I'm going to explain it to you. Okay, so then we do the same for the deposit slip. So what have we done now? We said in step 1, we just compared the information that we had on the previous month bank recon, on the check counterfoil statement, and on the deposit slip statement, what is in our bank statement. And if we saw that it was exactly the same, we ticked it off, or we drew a line forward through it, so that we can see what is still left on our bank statement or on the information that we cannot cancel. Oh, okay, so then on the next sheet, I've done exactly that. I said, see what is left and compare it with the additional information given, because we were given, if we look at the Word document again, we were given this additional information. What I'm saying to you is, wait with the additional information until you've actually completed your cross calculation as per what I've done here on sheet 1. Okay, so now we go to the next document, and so we see what is left and we compare it with additional info. So now initially we will just write down what is left, and it won't be highlighted yet, but I've already highlighted it, so don't worry about that. But really, so we will see that as far as our bank recon of the previous month is concerned, there are those 2 outstanding checks that didn't appear in our bank statement. Then we have the check counterfoils for the current month. We know that there's this one where there's some discrepancy. Something is wrong either in our documents, in our journals, or in the bank statement, and we don't know yet because we haven't looked at the additional information yet. Then we have these 2 checks that was only issued towards the end of the month and will therefore not show up yet. So that's left. On the deposit slips, we have an amount here of 22,190 that is not exactly the same as the amount that is there in the bank statement. So once again, if there's a discrepancy, so we mark it, we leave it in both the bank statement and on our deposit slip information, we will deal with it later based on the additional information that we have. And then the same as with the checks, we have these two deposits towards the end of the month that is not reflecting on our bank statement yet, just because there's a timing difference and it takes time. Okay, now we go and look at the additional information that we were given. It says check number 524 is now stale and it must be cancelled. Now, when a check becomes stale, we will have to record it in the cash book receipts and remove it from the bank reconciliation statement. Why? Because previously, when we started with this transaction, it was recorded in the cash book payments. After all, we issued a check. It was recorded in the cash book payments. We have been waiting ever since for the person to check it, to deposit it into our account, but it hasn't been done. It is now stale. It means more than 3 months have passed. And so even if the person now wanted to go to the bank and deposit the check, they can't do it anymore. And so it is cancelled. And when it is cancelled, we record it in the cash book receipt and we remove it from the bank reconciliation statement. Okay. Now, there's a lot more that will happen in the cash book receipt than what we are going to do. But for the purposes of the bank recon, we only need to do that. We are going to record it in the cash book receipt. We call it a subsidiary journal, and we're going to remove it from the BRS. And what I've done now is every time something must be recorded in the cash book receipts, receipts are always good, I've highlighted it in green. So check number 524 is stale, must be cancelled. It's going to record in the CBR and remove it from the bank reconciliation statement. So basically what I do is I mark it in green there, and then I go up here and I say, okay, I'm also going to mark it in green there. Okay. The next thing that we are told is that the bank has recorded check 814 at the incorrect amount. Okay, so what did they say? They said that the check was for 200, but they are incorrect. How do we know it? Because we were just told that it's the bank that made the mistake. The correct amount is in fact 300 Rand and 53 cents. So there is a further amount of 100 Rand that must still go off our account. And we think it's going to happen next month. Possibly they're going to find it out and they're going to rectify it. But we don't know yet. And so every time we see that something like that we can't record in one of the journals, it will appear on the next month bank reconciliation statement. So everything time something is supposed to appear on the bank reconciliation statement, I've highlighted it in yellow. So the bank recorded the check at the incorrect amount. So what must I do? I must subtract the difference on the bank reconciliation statement, and I've calculated the difference, and I see that the difference is 100 Rand. Okay, and so here I have made that entry. Okay, because now I know that I have dealt with that incident in its entirety. So I mark it in the bank recons, on the bank statement, I mark it on my check counterfoil list, and I've marked it here with additional information, and I said it is 100 Rand. Okay, next thing that we are told in the additional information is the deposit that corresponds with deposit slip 736 was credited on the bank statement at the correct amount. Okay, so here we are saying that we had this thing where on the bank statement, the amount was 22,440. So we can go and look for it here, 22,440. That's the correct amount. And the way it is listed on our deposit slip statement is wrong. Okay, so when we deposit money into the bank, that is good. So in this case, we understated it. So we still have to make an entry for the difference in our cash book receipt journal. And of course, we can calculate the difference there. It's simply the 22,440 minus the 22,190, and that difference is 250. Okay. Then it says the deposit corresponding with DS735 was for a check received by a debtor, received from a debtor. Okay. And we need to record it. Okay, so the deposit corresponding with DS735, which was really in the previous month, that corresponds with and if so, what we need to do is we must record this in the cash book payment. So somehow what happened here is we issued check 735 to somebody, but for some reason it was not recorded in our cash book payments register. And so we just rectify the mistake by simply recording it in the cash book payment. And then we go to our bank statement and we say, okay, that is not a problem. We can simply deal with it. Now, what did I do here? Where's my date? Did I take the date out here? Okay, not a problem. The DS735, where is that entry? Sometimes a little more difficult because I didn't look at the amount here. Was for a check received by a debtor. Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at what's left, and of course it wouldn't be left. That's why I'm suddenly confused. It is on this initial statement where we will actually see that transaction, that transaction being deposit corresponding with D735 was for a check received from a debtor. Okay, so if we go and look here, that was the outstanding deposit, was 732. Now, where's the 735 fitting? Guys, that I get confused now. Let me just quickly have a look here at as it is given in here. Deposit corresponding with DS deposit slip 735 was for a check received from a debtor. Okay, so we received the check from him. The check was returned by the bank marked return to drawer. Okay, so I should have read that in detail. I see what actually happened here is that when I have a look at the given information, that line is hidden. That was very confusing. Okay, so this is what we are saying. It's weird if information suddenly goes missing, but now we found it again. Okay, so the deposit corresponding with deposit slip 735 was for a check received from a debtor via Groovy. The check was returned by the bank marked return to drawer. So this is this thing here that says return to drawer via Groovy, and the amount is there. So what it means is that maybe in the previous month we recorded this transaction, and now in this month we find out that the check bounced. Okay, so he paid us by check, but that check was actually no good, and so we have to write the transaction back. So what happened is initially last month we would have recorded that transaction in our cash book receipts, and so therefore we must now return the transaction in our cash book payment. Okay, I want to see if something similar is happening here. Yeah, okay. Just make sure that we actually have all the information. So because all payments are bad, we do it in red, but if I do it in red, nobody will be able to read it. So we use this little pink as our highlighting color there and there. Okay, next thing we see is that a direct deposit on 7 September, was from a debtor in settlement of his account. Okay, so this guy didn't pay us by coming in. He didn't let us know. He simply made the direct deposit on 7th of December. We were blissfully unaware of it, but when we look at our bank statement, we pick it up there, and so therefore we must now go and we must record that transaction in our cash book receipts. Okay. It says there was another direct deposit on the 21st of December, and that was for rental income from E. Redford. So obviously we didn't see that as well. We only pick it up when we look at the bank statement, and so we go after the fact and we record it in our cash book receipt journal. Okay. Next thing we see in the additional information is the debit order in favor of recall is for a business cell phone. So this debit order that went off right here. Okay, we did only pick it up in the bank statement, and so we now record it in our cash book payment. Same thing, there's a second debit order here in favor of more time insurance for business insurance. We pick it up in the bank statement and we must record it in our cash book payment. Okay. Then they say to us, check number CRD 120 was incorrectly debited to the business account. So when something like this happened, this is not a timing error. This is a plain mistake, so we must indicate it on the bank recon statement. So this check here, CRD 120, you can just look at the following number and realize all ours is CC, and now we suddenly have the CRD. So we don't know who this check was for. It really shouldn't be paid from our account. So we mark it and we are going to put that in the bank reconciliation statement. Remember, everything that is going to be in the bank recon statement, we mark that in yellow. And then the last thing that we get under additional information is it says that there was a check 816 that was erroneously debited twice on the bank statement. Now, if we go back here to our original one, you will see that here it is on the 14th. It says CC 816 and CC 816, exactly the same amount. While if we look at our check counterfoils, it only appeared once. Well, if it only appears once, we can only cancel it once, and that is why the transaction there is still outstanding when on the next page we look what is still left. Okay, now we find a couple of things. We see that on the bank statement, when we've looked at the additional information and we've highlighted everything, there are still 4 transactions here, 1, 2, 3, 4 that are unmarked. Okay, and these are bank fees. It's a bank statement fee, the transaction fee, and the government levy is all bank fees. And then there's the interest on overdraft. Now, I don't think you would have gone much wrong if you actually just said all of that was bank fees, but because these are separate journals, are separate ledger accounts, we're going to add these 3 together and say that those are bank statements, and we are going to record the interest on the overdraft separately. So here's what I said. 1, the 4 unmarked transactions must all be recorded in the cash book payments, because it is after all payments. That is what debits orders are. And the 2 fees and the levy must be added and recorded as bank fees. So there I've given you an amount of 949.31, but really it is just the sum of those 3, as you can see there. Oh, sorry, I do that quite often. Let me just undo it. Okay. Okay, so what I did there, I took the 455 and the 187 and the 306, and together that gave me an amount of 949. And then the interest is the left, and I record this separately. Okay, so now I know that I've dealt with everything that is in my bank statement. Now, what about the previous month's recon statement? Here we see that there is something that I did not mark here yet. It's check 810. Well, check 810 is still not cashed, and so it remains on the bank recon statement, and it will remain there for 3 months until it becomes stale, or until such time as the holder of this check actually goes to the bank and deposit it into his account, and then they will take the money from our account. Okay, if we look at the check counterfoils, we see this check 28, check 820 and 821 from the 28th and the 30th, and these will appear as new outstanding check on the bank recon statement, and really we're expecting that next month, around about the 1st or the 2nd, we will see it on the new bank statement, and then we will just cancel it. If we look at our deposit slips, we see that deposit slip 737, this one, and 738, they will appear as new deposits on the bank reconciliation statement, and we expect to find them as with the checks on next month's statement at the beginning of the month. Okay, so now we can actually complete this subsidiary cash book receipts and payments and the bank recon for the next month. So it says 4.1, this is what we required and what we get the marks for. Record any differences identified in the bank recon process in a supplementary cash book receipt and payments with columns for details and amount. And then it says, very important, begin with the totals before any amendments. Okay, so that's what they say to us. Okay, let's do that first. Okay, so we do that. We say, okay, if we go and look at our subsidiary cash book receipts, we must look at what was the total before amendment. So if you go at the given, we see that the amount given before we made any reconciliation was 130,531.53. That is the amount that is in there. Okay, now we go and look on here for everything else that was green. Okay, outstanding check CC524 that has become stale, and we said we must record that in our cash book receipts, so we do. Those 2 direct deposits from Haywood and rental income that must be recorded in our cash book receipts, we record them. And then this business error on the deposit that was understated by 250 Rand, we record that as well in our cash book receipts. And this is really everything that we marked or highlighted in green is now showing up on our subsidiary cash book receipts. Okay, so the receipts obviously positive, everything else that goes in here is positive, so we simply add it all up and we get a new total receipts of 144,510.95. Then we go at and have a look at the subsidiary cash book payments. The total before amendments, well, it was given there as 30,053.20 cents. So we've simply taken that amount and we brought it in there. And now we go and look at everything that we highlighted in red. Okay, and we say, okay, nothing here, nothing here, nothing here. Aha, okay. Here we can start with something. The deposit correspondent was for a check received from debtor, so this was returned to drawer. And we record that transaction in our cash book payments. Then we go and we look here and we say, okay, there were these unmarked ones that has to be there, and we already calculated all the bank fees as 949.31. So we bring it in there. The same with the interest charges. It was just that one there. We brought it in. And then there was the 2 debit orders that we picked up that we must still record. And so we do it, the debit order for the cell phone and the debit order for the insurance. We add all of this up and we get a new total for cash book payments, which is 56,182.75. Now, if we now go and look here, it says first that we must open, post, and balance to the bank account in the general ledger. And then we compile the bank reconciliation statement. Okay, so here I was looking at the bank reconciliation statement first, and I did the GL on the next sheet just because it was easier to do it. But let's do it in the order that we are told to do it. So here we have bank and we have the following number. It is B10 and we filled in Tully's bookstore there. And so we start with the negative balance that we had at the beginning of the month. Where do we find it? Well, if you have a look on the previous month bank recon statement, we have an amount there of 102,769.69. That is our opening balance. And normally a bank account is an asset account, and if it is positive, then we would expect to find that amount on the debit side. But because we are in overdraft, we put the amount on the credit side of the account. Okay, and then we take those totals for cash book payments and cash book receipts. So cash book payments are going to affect our balance negatively even more. So it's also posted on the credit side. Where do I get that 56 from? Well, I just calculated it there. Okay. And then, of course, we will also have our cash book receipts. And that is actually going to increase our bank account. That's good news. It's the 144,510. Where do I get that? Well, there I calculated it. It was simply the total that goes in there. So now I have my balance, I have my cash book payments, I have my cash book receipts, and we do what we always do, is we see by looking at the 2 sides of the ledger, which one is obviously the most. And we can see that it is this one. 102 and 56 is clearly going to be more than 144, so we total it, and we get a total here of 158,952.44, and then we put the same amount on the other side of the ledger. And then we find the balancing amount. How do we find the balancing amount? Well, we say 158,952.44 minus the 144,510.95 gives me an amount of 14,449, and that I'm going to bring down to the following month. Okay. Now I've completed my general ledger, and the last thing that I must now do is actually I must complete my bank recon statement. Okay. So what do? I start by putting the balance as per the bank statement. Where is that balance as per the bank statement? Well, there it is. That's the final balance at the end of the month on my bank statement is there. That is what I start my bank recon statement with. Then I say I must add less from this, the outstanding checks, because obviously if they are paid, if they are issued, then it will further negatively impact my bank account. So I'm going to subtract that. I'm starting with a negative balance already, by the way. So that's why it's in brackets. And now I'm adding all these other things that will affect it negatively, and those are the outstanding checks. And if we go here, we see that that one is still outstanding. Sorry, that one was still outstanding, 8110, and these 2 new ones are outstanding. And we put them in there, and we put all of those in brackets or as a minus. Then we add the outstanding deposit, because if those deposits are paid in, then our bank account will look a little better. So that is deposit 737 and 738, and it's these 2. where we said they will appear as new outstanding deposits on the bank recon statement, and we have done that. Okay. Now we still have to account for the other things. There was this correction of the bank error on check CC814. Okay, this is that. So obviously, the bank said that they only paid the issuer or the holder of that check 200 Rand, and really we made it out for 300 Rand. So there's another 100 Rand that must still go off our account. Therefore, it is negative. Okay. This check CRD 120, this one here, we have no idea whose it is, where it's coming from. Only thing we know is it shouldn't be taken from our account, and so we add that, because if that wrongly debited check is taken out of our account, then it's a payment that must be returned to us. So that therefore we add it. And then of course there was also this check CC 816 that was incorrectly debited twice. Remember, I said it to you that it was incorrectly debited twice. We left it here, and we said that that must come on our bank recon statement, and indeed it is the case, and we get 60106. And now, if we simply total these amounts and we did everything correctly, this amount and the amount in the GL should be exactly the same. And earlier today when I did it, suddenly there was 150 Rand difference and I couldn't find the mistake. In the end, it was plainly me writing down or copying an amount incorrectly. Now, when you are in the exam, guys, that is the most likely mistake that you will make as well. You will look at the things and you will copy an amount incorrectly. And then these two amounts, the one in the bank recon and the one in the general ledger, might not be exactly the same. You really do not have time to go and look for your mistake. This is a simple little exercise, but finding my mistake took me about 2 hours today. Now, you do not have 2 hours in the exam. Okay, so live with the mistake that you. Thank you for watching this video to the end. If you found it valuable, please subscribe and like. Thank you.